What happened?
People then were like nothing. You didn't look at people. Yeah. Now.
No one cares.
I don't say no one, but most people cares. Nobody.
That's like the last thing
I never told my kid.
How does this work? Look,
People then were like nothing. You didn't look at people. Yeah. Now.
I find it funny, like this thing. You go onto YouTube, it offers you like random videos to look at.
That's what YouTube is.
Based on what you.
But it's offering me. I'll tell you what's offering me. If you want to know, Taylor Swift or some gracious singer.
Like popular at the moment.
No, it's advert. They want people to click on it and make money.
I've never.
No Shiur on Monday over here.
Why?
Barry Goldberg coming out apparently in the morning.
Oh, he's starting tomorrow morning here.
Yeah, Monday morning.
No shit.
No, they're having. I think it didn't work out wherever they were, so they thought they could maybe get back some people.
So they're having it here before Shachas. Oh, very
yeah.
Nice. That's wonderful.
It's good for you as well if you ever need to swap with him.
Yes, that's very good. So it's a good.
Did they go on that shit until now or stop?
I don't know. I think they've only got 2 or 3 people with Benny and Naf.
That's it.
One other, yeah. So they're trying to get a few others.
I think, are we on now? Yeah, we are on.
But what's the like?
It's different.
He does it quite quick, actually, Tommy.
Yeah,
Tommy does it very quick.
Different.
Have you been to this in the Veen's show? He does it really.
Yeah, I'm also.
You going back to the morning?
But yeah, no.
I'm asking you in front of the other. Sorry.
No,
Political, and I get into.
No,
some nights
I'm not.
At the moment, not.
It's hard to get to that.
It's easier for me. It's easier for me.
To get it that early. I don't know if I could do it again.
I like the shade the way it's going up. So
Yeah.
Don't want to get into it.
It's good to know if you ever can't.
Yeah,
Yes.
if there's a reason why I have to go, I'll go.
You have to try very hard to be in sync.
Yeah,
you
that's
know.
what it
That's the plan, isn't it? To try and keep it.
Yeah. When he's going to Motzei Shabbos.
No, Motzei Shabbos just for you, family. They're coming.
Oh, they have to come here?
They've got to come.
Can't see a bigger crowd.
And Friday, what's he do about Friday? Oh, he'll do before Shabbos. No, after Shabbos. Oh, what if people on Friday should just join his before Shiur, maybe?
Why is it better?
No, I'm just saying, nobody comes out. No, I don't mind. I'm happy to sound or maybe, I don't know, he does it very fast. People like that. It's fine. You know, Levine gives a shit. Sometimes it goes on for 9-10 minutes.
People look at the watches.
Some people walk out. Fortunately, nowadays people aren't so polite if they don't like it. Someone said we went to Shiur. So one stage was 5, one stage was 25. So which of us started at 5 and finished at 25? Okay. You missed the daf from Testament out of top of the page. Oh no, actually wait till 8 o'clock. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize. I wanted. Oh, we're being on YouTube for nothing.
Talk about the parasha.
Oh. It's very nice. Yes,
Why is Dafkin Shemois? Something to look about it this week.
yeah, because the first psukim it's 2 pshatim. Because women Shimon even Yehuda there's a thing. The other reason is that what kept them going in Mitzrayim was that they would learn the parshas. Therefore, there's a medrash. So nice words is that.
So then what's going to happen next?
I was going to say.
It must be pasta.
What's the tone when it says they knew they had the tone?
Okay, so I'm not saying that maybe didn't know what's going to happen next, but what are you getting?
Yeah, I was going to ask him to bring me a coffee, but I'm also Shabbos. My triachim.
What's wrong with the coffee here? They don't have coffee.
Look at his and you'll look at his. That's a coffee.
Oh, where do you get it from home?
Sorry? Wasn't it supposed to be for everyone?
I've only got 2 hands, but if you text me,
the fours.
I've not got one of those holders.
We'll just bring the machine.
Huh?
The pods.
I'll bring the machine. Okay.
I saw video behypings from Sadja Gon. Ki era shomecha, when I see your heavens, how it's supposed to carry on? Yes, very good. Ma'aseh b'yisecha, made by your fingers. What else do we talk about Hashem making something with a finger? By? Which one? Kinim. Kinim is the smallest of all living items that Hashem created. What's the greatest? Shemecha, the heavens. You look in the Galgal, he talks about the heavenly spheres, right? Milky Way. He says, Sadikon used to say that we shouldn't think that HaKadosh Baruch Hu making the moon and the stars required more effort than making a tiny light. It's all esbadikim. It's all the same amount of effort. That's what, no. Same. He says it doesn't say about anything else, any other creation, the word fingers. Only by kinim and only by anything. Only Hashem. I thought it was 5 to 8. I got ready early and I was about to start and realized it's not. It's 8 o'clock. We hear that on Monday, Mr. New Shiur started. And Motzei Shabbos. Yeah. And Friday morning he'll give before Shachzag after Shabbos. I was wondering if it's Kedai just to make one on Friday morning. Just tell you, just talk just 1 second. You could think about it.
How many people just before Shachar?
I don't know, we could do after as well. They could do both. I say it's not a major issue. You could decide where on the.
Apart from myself, probably.
I don't know how many people.
How many came this week?
There was Shonim was on the thing, and 3 more came. 4 people.
I always watch it afterwards.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I come to the show. It depends on the Friday.
Depends on Friday. Okay, no, it's fine. So it's
I have shared before Shachar.
he keeps to the daf. He keeps it every day to that daf. We'll have to tell him.
I appreciate that. I told you. I've got 3 orders for next week now.
I got 3 orders.
Where's the stick gone? I need to buy some
Which stick?
Yeah.
You took the stick with you.
No, I left it in. Uh-oh. No, it's at home, your house probably.
It's not. I never took the computer on Friday.
Oh, so it was in there, I didn't take it, okay. It must have fallen out.
You sure? 99% sure. I saw you trying it with mine.
Yeah, and then I packed it away and put it with it.
Well, I haven't touched
Where was she on Friday?
I would have seen it, I think. And I think you took it with you, the machine. You sure? Okay. Good luck, Ian. Are you okay?
Good luck, Boxing, okay?
Yeah, both. Right. Oh, Mazel Tov. Your nephew got engaged with your nephew.
My nephew got engaged, yes. In Johannesburg.
Oh.
Yeah.
You haven't found it? You can't find it? Okay, top Mishnah. This Mishnah we've actually on some level learned before. This year, Abba also Shchali is Shabbos. If El Pesach is a Friday, is a Shabbos, like this year. Says you get rid of everything before Shabbos. Why? Because it's not going to be very easy to get rid of it on Shabbos. You get rid of it on Shabbos. Tumah before Shabbos, Chulin on before Shabbos. So on Shabbos. Why? Tumah, there's a lot less customers. So therefore you have to do it before Shabbos. But Chulin is much easier to find customers, and therefore it is you have to wait until Shabbos comes in. Maybe you'll be able to eat it up. There's actually many machlokes in the Shonim exactly what's the svar of the machlokes. The chayah is all a matter of technicalities. If you do it before Shabbos, it's better because you might not have leftovers. Do it on Shabbos, you might have leftovers. Some say that getting rid of chametz on Shabbos is a tircha, and you're not allowed to do a tircha. And the machlokes over here is tircha on Shabbos. Others say the machlokes says if you do it on Shabbos, you won't be able to do it with a fire. You'll have to do it by crumbling it. And the machlokes over here is it better to do it by fire before Shabbos, or that means there's different ways to understand exactly what the machlokes on the come on Well, it says once my father was called Tzaddik, because he was called Tzaddik, so his father Tzaddik spent a Shabbos in Yavna. The name of a person called Zoinin, Memuna Shel Gamir. He was a Memuna, he was a appointee of Gamir. It's reached the time to destroy the chametz on Shabbos. He got rid of the chametz on Shabbos. What did he bring arrive from there? That the halach is you get rid of chametz on Shabbos, not like the chametz that you have to do before, not like a mayor that says you have to do it all before Shabbos. New Mishnah. The halacha is that there are two ways to get rid of chametz. What are the two main ways to get rid of chametz? Oh, I didn't say the question so well. Mina Torah be'emes, all you need to do is bittul. You need to bittul. You say that in your heart with nothing such. Midrabanan, there's a chiyuv to actually destroy it. The question is, somebody over here is in a situation where it's difficult for him to destroy it. So we look for, in different variety of circumstances, do we obligate him? Do we say to him, just do bittul? Bittul takes a second, and you can do it wherever you are. Shekin Biur requires time and requires that you go to the place. This is the shaila that we have over here. So the person is way to shech the Korban Pesach. Or to do besmira. To eat sudas eris in Beis Chamav, which is a mitzvah. It's a mitzvah to eat sudas eris in Beis Chamav. There's a big bachrikas to show them over here. What is the mitzvah? Some say we're talking about the chosin himself, and the mitzvah is the ma'aser kiddushin. Others say we're talking about the guests, and the mitzvah is simchas chosin v'kala. So it comes out nafkamina, is there simchas chosin v'kala by kiddushin without nisun? So a person is going to do one of the three mitzvahs, either bris milah or korban pesach or sudas eris. And suddenly he remembers, he's on his way to do this, and he suddenly remembers he's got korban pesach at home. He's got chometz at home. So if you can get back, destroy, and still catch the mitzvah, go back and destroy it. Destroys in his heart. There's bitter in his heart. That means if he's not going to lose out by going back, he's mechuyev to go back. And Chazal said, you could do bitter. No, it's much better to actually destroy it. But if you're going to lose the mitzvah, better just to do the mitzvah and to do bitter. If you want to save another Yid who's being hurt, chased or hurt, threatened by going, or from a river, or a Yid is about to get robbed, or a fire, or is from a house falling down on him, even though he could get back in time. He knows, for example, that this fire is not going to spread for another hour. And he could get home, get rid of the chometz, and get back to the fire in time. Nevertheless, since saving Yiddish neshama is so important, we don't ask him to go back and destroy and then catch it in time, because we're concerned that it might take longer, and therefore we say just do bittul balev. When he gets back, no, then it's too late, because by the time we're talking about by the time he finishes with the fire or the river, it will be after Zman Issa Hanov Chometz, and then it's too late. It's after Chatzos in the Pesach, so then it's too late, as though he's lost the mitzvah. So the question again, it's a good point. I should have said this at the beginning. We're talking about a situation where if he sorts what he's sorting out now first, and then he goes, it'll be too late because it's after Zman Biur Chometz. After Zman Biur Chometz, you can't destroy it. It's too late. So therefore, the point of the Gemara is literally like this: that even though by looking after this fire, he's going to lose his mitzvah, and if he goes back, he could, in theory, get both mitzvahs. Nevertheless, we tell him, don't do that. Rather, stay where you are, look after the Yid and need saving, rather than going back and risking that there's a small chance that you might get delayed and never be able to do the mitzvah properly. Now, if he's going to Shvisa Rishus, Miyad, and he always has to go back. Now, the number of explanations what is going on over here when he says Lishba Shvisa Rishus. Rashi says, if you look in Rashi, Lishba Shvisa Rishus, we learned in Eruvin many times, that if you want to walk out of the Tchum, 4,000 amas, what can you do? What do you do? What's an Eruvei Tchumen? So Rashi explains, we're talking about somebody who's making Eruvei Tchumen. So he's walking on to make an Eruv Tchumen. That means Pesach is, let's say, going to be a Shabbos. So he's walking Friday afternoon. And there's two mitzvahs. One, he wants to do Eruvei Tchumen. And on the way to do Eruvei Tchumen, he remembers, I left Chometz at home. Says the Mishnah, he has to go back. Let's see the Rashi later inside. In order to start from there, the reason he wants to travel on Shabbos 4,000 amas is not to hear a Shiur or to go to a chasna. The reason he wants to travel 4,000 amas on Shabbos is for what? For Dvar Rishus. Why did Rashi say that? Anybody wants to hazard a guess? Oh, very good. That's how I read the Rashi. I was hoping somebody would ask the question. Tis asks this question on Rashi. Let's finish off Rashi. No, so Abalikdish, we says mitzvah. Says Rashi, I had to talk about a case where it's a mitzvah, where it's a shus. Because if it's talking about going the next day to be able to do menachem avelim, so that's no different from the first case. So far we had 3 cases on Mishnah. Somebody going to do a mitzvah that called Pesach, somebody going to save somebody's life, and somebody going to do for no mitzvah at all. For a mitzvah, we said it depends if you've got enough time to get back or not. To save somebody's life, we don't care. Even if you have enough time, just save the person's life and don't do for no reason at all. Then we say you always go back. Says Rashi says for no reason at all. Fake Tosus. Let's see Tosus. Very good. This was Shus of Shus. Because how can you do such a thing? We have a halacha that you're not allowed to do a Ruvei Tchumen except for a mitzvah. Now, the reason I wanted to read Rashi properly is because if you remember, I hope you said you would remember, it's quite a long time ago. The Gemara there says that it depends how you make the eruv. If you make the eruv with food, then indeed you can only do it via mitzvah. But when you actually walk there, which is a better eruv tchumen, there the Gemara brings a shitta that that's okay even when it's not via mitzvah. Rashi spoke about a case where he's walking there to be koine shvisa himself, not to put food. So that's already a good answer, half an answer. There is a man omar that when you do shvisa yourself, then even if it's not l'dvar mitzvah, it's okay. But it's still a shtickle taina on Rashi because there is a man omar that even your own shvisa doesn't work. Answers to this. Near Levi. He's going to celebrate Pesach by his good friend. Now, this few words of Tosas, I was very relieved to see that many people discuss this Tosas, because what does Tosas mean? If it's a mitzvah, we're back to square one. What's the question? Ishbiak on Pesach. If it's not a mitzvah, then we're back. Then the question of Tosas still stands. So Tosas, there's 2 mahalchim in Tosas. I was very relieved to see 2 different mahalchim. Everybody asks this kasha. What's Tosas trying to say? We don't understand. Tosas asks the kasha. If it's not a mitzvah, you're not allowed to do tchumen. If it is a mitzvah, you go Rashi's kasha. That is the same as the first case. So some answer that Tosas understood that celebrating on Pesach with somebody else is enough of a mitzvah for Ruvei Tchumen, because the Ruvei Tchumen, we said the smallest mitzvah is considered a mitzvah. At the end of the day, spending time for bringing the achdus is a wonderful thing. But it's not enough of a mitzvah that Chazal should say that you don't need to go back. That means it's an in-between mitzvah. That's one pshat. There's another pshat in Tosas. That Tosas understood that we're not talking about Ruvei Tchumen altogether. We're talking about somebody who's traveling just for fun. And we're not lishbois. Rashi understood lishbois means to be koine shvisa. That's not what the Gemara means. Lish doesn't mean lishbois to be koine shvisa. It means somebody who's traveling just for the sake of going to be with friends over Pesach. So he's not trying to be koine Ruvei Tchumen. So then he has to go back. So we've got 3 mahalchim and lishbois shvisa savashos. Rashi says it's be koine Ruvei Tchumen for nothing. Tosas says, I did koine shvisa in order to do a mitzvah, which is a light mitzvah, or he's not trying to koine shvisa at all. He's just going for a walk to be able to visit people, and therefore he has to go back. Now the Mishnah gives a similarity. We'll see eventually what is the similarity. The halacha is that if somebody brings a korban, he has to kochim kalim. Where is kochim kalim? Where? How far can you eat kochim kalim? Very good. In Yerushalayim. What happened if you walked out of Yerushalayim with a piece of meat? Do you need to go back or not? When this guy remembers he's got in his hand kodesh the meat. If you pass seifim, he has to burn it in his place. Because he's gone so far, we don't be matriach him to go back. If not, he has to go back. So, very good, very good. One question after the next. Where's seif? Very good. Right. Today we're going to do quite a lot of Tosas. Rashi says seifim is the name of a place. Tosas asks a kasha, if it's a name of a place, imagine Yerushalayim, he says the center, so Seifim is over here. What happens if you go the other way? So you could answer the same distance from Seifim to Yerushalayim in any direction. For Tosas, if that's the case, so then you should say the distance from Yerushalayim to Seifim and in any direction. Answers Tosas. What?
The distance from this.
Yeah, but then the Mishnah adds the words that the distance from here to there and in any direction. For example, we'll have that if you're too far away, you can't be in common Pesach, you bring Pesach Sheni. And the Mishnah says Modi'in. And the Mishnah says, like you go from Yerushalayim to Modi'in, or in any other direction, the same distance. But here the Mishnah doesn't say that. The Mishnah just says Seifim. Says Tosfos that Seifim doesn't mean a name of a place. Seifim means where you can see. Seifim means to see. If you've gone past the place that you can no longer see Yerushalayim, you don't need to go back. That is the second test. Let's see very quickly. When we read with the Sefta, okay. Wherever you can see Yerushalayim, that's considered. So again, you've taken a piece of meat out of Yerushalayim, then you have to take it back.
Is Rashi not also saying that? Rashi also says,
yeah, Rashi says more about Seifim, very good. But Rashi says Shem Kfar. It's a name of a village. Rashi,
and then
the reason the village is called that is because you can see Yerushalayim. But the question is, but what about the other directions? You're right. I'm not. The arguing what Seifim means. Rashi says Seifim is the name of a place. There's a place called Seifim. This is no. Seifim is not the name of a place. Seifim is an adjective. It's describing a place. Bimlav, if you've gone past Sofer, Sofer. Now, why do you have to go back? There's a lot of halachas over here. If you've gone only a little bit distance, you have to go back and burn it in Yerushalayim with the wood of the Beis Hamikdash. That means when there was something possible, because this is possible, because it's a yotze, you use the wood which the Beis Hamikdash should provide you. But that's only if you burnt it lifnei abira. Lifnei abira, we'll discuss in a minute what lifnei abira means. Now Rashi says, why do you have to bring it back to Yerushalayim to burn it? Says Rashi, because we had actually a drasha that anything which is possible, you have to burn it in a Mokum Kodesh. He says, if that's the truth, then what difference does it make if you walked a mile, 2 miles, 5 miles? Who cares? Get back. You did it that bit, get back. What?
People maybe could go further and just eat it. That's what they say, just burn it in case you come to eat it.
But you're being it's a deraisa. The Torah says take it back. You're right. Eating it would also be awesome that Torah because it's a yotzip. So
what is the English for?
Both allowed.
Right.
One's less sex. Okay, I hear. I never thought of your answer. Okay, says Torah. So let's see very quickly. So for that, be a push. Could just go over and shop. Could just be so broke. Close to the cost. The living. Deraisa. Mali about seifim. Mali lo about seifim. Yeshnela. Torah is like this. There are 3 kinds of kodshim. There's kodshim that go mizbeach. Kodshim kalim that go mizbeach, and kodshim kalim which you eat. If you remember there very clearly, it's very hard. We didn't talk about it at the time. That drasha specifically talked about kodshim and kodshim kalim that you need to put on mizbeach. But it didn't talk about kodshim kalim that you eat. It says Tosfos be'emes minahater kodshim kalim that you eat. You don't have to bring it back to Yerushalayim. You can burn it wherever you want. So why do you have to bring it back? Midrabanan. If we allow you to burn kodshim kalim wherever you want, you might come to burn kodshim wherever you want, or kodshim kalim that go on the mizbeach wherever you want, and that's no good. Now, what's lifnei abira? Says next Tosfos. What is lifnei abira? One Amoira holds that it was a certain place on the Har Beis, which was called Bira. There was a room on the Har Beis called Bira, you should know. And another shitta is Lifnei Bira just means, Bira means Beis HaMikdash. Lifnei Bira means in front of the Beis HaMikdash. That's what it is inside Lifnei Bira. So we're going to learn, Pligi, my Bira, Ma'ama, Ba'achana, Ma'vichna, Mokin, Yishba, Beis, Bira, Shmer, Shok, Shema, Kol, Beis, Kule, Have, Bira, Shnema, and Bira, Shachinois. Okay. So again, if I take it out too far, burn it wherever I want. Machlokas Rashi and Tosfos have been over Yisroel or not. If not too far, I have to bring it back to the Beis HaMikdash and I burn it with Eitz HaMarocha. Rashi and Tosfos, not here, Rashi here and Tosfos elsewhere. If you take it back into Yerushalayim and burn it in another place, then you've not done an Aver because you burnt it in the right place, but then you can't use the wood of the Beis HaMikdash. If you want to use the wood of the Beis HaMikdash, it has to be in front of Yerushalayim itself. I just say very quickly, give me tremendous chizuk. I know the person it happened to. We're going to learn that certain things are not allowed to take out of the country. If you do, you have to take it back in. We're going to learn about the next book about Shemitah produce. I know the story. It happened, unbelievable story. First, I had the cleaner for about 10 years in Yerushalayim. The last day, the cleaner quit. You know the story? The woman wanted to give her a gift. The woman wanted to give her a gift. I just couldn't think of a gift to give her. She didn't have. I forgot. So she had some nice oranges on the table. Here, take it. And then afterwards, the husband came over. It was the year of Shemitah. You're not allowed to give because the woman was going back to Poland. You can't give it to her because you're not allowed to take food to Shemitah outside there. So he took a taxi to Ben Gurion, and she had already gone through. He begged the guards. Eventually, he's quite a tough personality. I know as well. He got onto the plane. He said to her, "I'm really sorry." I do know what she had done. Do you even know the end of the story? She had all the jewelry. And she saw him. When she saw him, she thought he had tracked her down because of the jewelry. And she quickly took the jewelry out of her pocket. He got on his back as well. No, she was arrested straight away. She was arrested. What? No, they took them all back. She was arrested. She was arrested. Yes, I know it happened too.
I heard the story, but he went to the bus stop.
I asked him. I spoke to him about it afterwards. I heard the story from him. So he was a bit irritated. He said he's upset that silly people have heard the story. No, because there was a lot of jewelry. He's wealthy. No, okay. Yeah. How far do you have to go back? For how much produce of kodesh meat, or alternatively chometz, do you have to go back for? Both in the kabetza, it depends if it's chometz or hekdesh. Now the Gemara will explain Shittas Meir and Shittas Yehuda. For some reason, the Gemara does not explain Shittas Chachamim. So Tosfos says, "Oy meriva." Let's might as well do it. Since that's something. Chachamim remember as kodesh b'chol kazayis. Oy meriva. The first b'shamish of the boss of kodesh they said that can't be bitter. Say chvir b'kazayis. But chometz they said can't be bitter. Lechmal kabetza. Why? Why should there be a difference? More is explained later. Machlekes Meir and Yehuda. But now Shittas Chachamim the Gemara doesn't explain. So says I'll explain it to you from the Yerushalmi. Chometz, since you've got optional bitter, so in that turn you can sort it out by staying at home. Therefore, only if you've got kabetza at home, you have to go back. But for kazayis, not. Now, sheinke by kodesh, you've got no option of doing bitter. So therefore, there were more machmir that even by kazayis. So the question is, for example, let's say you're traveling 100 miles. So suddenly you remember now Pesach that you've got some chometz at home. Would you travel 100 miles back home to do your chometz? Mishnah says you would, because it's a dvar shus. If you're doing a mitzvah, fine. If you're not doing a mitzvah, you'll travel 100 miles to come home. If it's less than the kabetza, then you'd be okay. If it's more than the kabetza, of course you travel 100 miles. You'll travel 10,000 miles to get back. You travel, of course, to get to Chutz. No. Yeah, you're going to, if you're never not going to be home. No. If you've left less than 30 days before Pesach, so you've already had the mitzvah build. Says the Gemara, the Mishnah says that going to Sudas Erusin is a mitzvah. We know Sudas Erusin Beis Chama, that going for Sudas Erusin is not a mitzvah. Is Sudas Erusin a mitzvah or not? The Mishnah says it is, the Beis says it isn't. Sudas Erusin is shus, mitzvah. It's machlekes Meir and Yehuda if Sudas Erusin is a permission or mitzvah. The Hashad Amarav Chisda machlekes Sudas Shniya. Obviously, I'm rushing a bit because it's got a long daf. The way they used to do it is like this. You'd have an engagement party, Kedushin. By the way, the engagement of nowadays is not the Kedushin of Chazal. The engagement of Chazal is what did you do? You'd make a soda, go home. A year later, you'd get married. So they would make a soda. A couple of days after the soda, the chassan would come round to the kala with a whole load of gifts. And that they would make another party. And the machlekes is regarding the second party. Everybody agrees the first party was a mitzvah, that's mechas chosam v'kala. The second one, which was for the gift, you should know that the Shiur from the Yehuda, somebody wants to show this to me, big times v'achim. The Yehuda had a shaila of a girl that she got engaged, and the chassan didn't send her a present. And she was very upset. Says in the Yehuda, you can't imagine the sharpness that the Yehuda writes against the chassan. You can't imagine how sharp. He says, you see, the Gemara says that there was a chiyuv sivloidus.
That's after Emerson.
Nowadays, you can't imagine the native Yehuda. You talk about Kodesh Elyon. He understood. You have to give presents, of course, within reason, but with all the takonas. Anyway. Remember. The first meal is what? The first meal is a mitzvah. The second meal is not a mitzvah. So our Mishnah is talking about No, I mean, she's about the first, because it's a mitzvah. The Beis, which says it's not a mitzvah, is talking about second. Tanya Rav Yehuda, ani lo shemati sudas erusin, aber lo yisiv lo nois, not that mio. Tis ask kasha, why will not say Tanya nami ochi? Normally I don't do the tesis, we did all roy, we should do them all. Tesis says a kasha that normally whenever the word's got a Beis which supports an answer, the word says Tanya nami ochi. Speak Tesis, Tanya Rav Yehuda, team, I'm not saying Tanya nami ochi, but Rav Chisda. The answer of Chisda is actually a full Beis. It's an interesting question. Okay. Tanya Rav Yehuda, ani lo shemati sudas erusin, aber lo yisiv lo nois, but not gifts. Omar Rav Yehuda, shemati sudas erusin, visible is the both of mitzvahs. Okay. Now, we learned in our Mishnah, we're going to do a lot of Agadah. The Mishnah says that there's a Sudas Mitzvah, a Sudas Erusin, and a Sudas of Rishus. Sudas of Rishus is any party which is not a Mitzvah. The Gemara now says that Tanya, called Sudash Inashal Mitzvah, a Sudah which is not a Mitzvah, Ein Talmud Chochem V'Shai Lenis V'Meno, a Talmud Chochem is not allowed to go. So if I say to you, you're Talmid Chacham here, you come to Daf every day. So if I say to you, I'd like to invite you to Noshas, or what's the place called, what's that one which I go past every day? Pagoda. Pagoda. If I say to you tomorrow night, will you come and join with me for a supper in Pagoda? Or three bakers? What's it? Three bakers? State Fair. Well, I don't remember the name. State Fair. State Fair. If I say to you, I want to invite them to State Fair. Mutter Asa. Awesome. No, not because of COVID. Who cares about COVID? It's a shus. You're not allowed to go to the shus. You go in Mai, for example, what? Me'iris is a very interesting thing. Normally, a chasna, what's this going Mai? What's a sudas for shus? What's what you need to find is sudas for shus? How hard is it to think of sudas for shus? Anybody can think of sudas for shus. Any party which is not a mitzvah is a sudas for shus. The more saying that sometimes you can have a mitzvah suda, where because something bad is happening, is considered a sudas for shus, even though it's a mitzvah. What? Bas Kohen to Yisroel, because the Bas Kohen shows my Yisroel. Bas Talmud Chochem Ma'aretz, the daughter of Talmud Chochem Ma'aretz. The Gemara now is going to have a long avichus. I don't want to speak about it too much. A huge avichus about how terrible Amaratzim are. To bring Machlikas and Rishonim, what we discussed, give you a Tesis, an Amud Beis, in the middle of a completely different Tesis. Tesis says we're talking about Amaratzim that kill people. It's not talking about. Oh, I know. It's very interesting. Tesis says. No. All Tesis says was talking about somebody who is a krifa lahachis. He denies. We'll see terrible things about Maratzim. The Ritval says we'll talk about less Rasha, but the Gemara uses extreme language. The Gemara is going to use extreme language to shock us into the chashivus of learning Torah. That's the Ritval's matter. It's got Machlikas is showing what we discussed over here. So the Gemara says that the Talmud Chacham to an Amoritz, do Talmud Chacham Amoritz is a sudas shus, even if it's a chasna, because it shouldn't go to such. It doesn't work. What will happen? Can you imagine the Baskin to Yisrael? We must let the Tana Kova. Either he'll bury her, or so she'll bury him, and we also the ideas come Paul. Any woman, if you want to become wealthy, Yitbak with Zara he should marry the daughter of Aaron. Why should he marry the daughter of Aaron? Because he'll get very, very wealthy, because all Kohanim are extremely wealthy. No, that's not Pshat. The Rishonim say, because Kohanim brought Ketovas, therefore they're wealthy. Kol shekei shetovah kodem ha'shvosot, so you should have both. Lo kasha b'tamud chacham or b'amoretz. When I was in Shidduchim, suggested the Shidduch of a Bas Kohen, and I asked him over, I said to him, right, so you can't marry a Bas Kohen, unless it's Talmud Chacham, so you can't marry a Bas Kohen. He said you shouldn't worry about it. But I said, I don't worry about it. No, but I said I didn't buy a Bas Kohen, but it's a fighting thing. You have to be a Talmud Chacham to buy a Bas Kohen. Says the Gemara, Yeshua Nosiv Kanasi, married a Kohen, that's why a girl, Chorash got Noel, Omar Lenichle, now did back Bezari. Hashem doesn't want, Aaron Kohen doesn't want me to marry his granddaughter. Why? To have a Lechasla Kohen, no, doesn't want a son-in-law like me. That was what Yeshua was quite a great person. He was one of the great, he was the Rev of Rabbi Akiva. Ravidi Bavi Nosiv Kanasi, married the daughter of a Kohen. Nofik Bnei Trey, Body Smichi, got two great children. Who were they? Sheshis Bnei Davidi, Yeshua Bnei Davidi. Omar Papa, Lady Simna Kanasi, if I want to marry the daughter of a Kohen, I will never become rich. So you want to marry, it's machlikas of it whether it's good to marry a Kohen or not. I haven't got so much time. If I want to marry the Kohen, I want to go into Golus. The Gemara tells us a very frightening story about Kahana. A wife was above a Kana. He killed somebody. He killed somebody because of the fact that he saw that person was a Moisa. When the government heard that he killed him, he had to run away. So because of the fact, he said, that the reason why I had to run away because I'm my daughter of a Kohen. That's something about Shiur says, because by Kohenim killing is particularly bad. How do we know that? The Kaduduchading. So therefore, the fact that he married Tosis and with Beis asked the Kasha, was of Kahana a Kohen or not? So from this Gemara is mashma not, because the Gemara over here is saying that Yisroel shouldn't marry a Bas Kohen. If it would be a Kohen, it would be a problem. So this says from this is a raya. Or we see that he took money for Pidin Ben. Says the Gemara that the Kohen is allowed to take money for Pidin Ben if he's Yisroel is allowed to take money for Pidin Ben if he's married to a Bas Kohen. It's very interesting. And then this is another thing. All the Gemara says about Kahana that he called himself a Kohen. No, he wasn't really a Kohen. He called himself a Kohen because his name was Kohen, but not that he really was a Kohen. Okay. So what do you care? No, no, because he married the daughter of a Kohen. He says, well, he went to Makom Ter. So he said, look at the girl, and I had to run away in a way which was unpleasant. He had to escape. A person who goes and eats parties all the time, they say, go into Golish. Those who eat fat sheep. They eat cows which have been fattened, or in the barn. They'll go into Golos. A person who spends his whole time just partying will end up suffering. That eats a very lot and constantly eats, he'll destroy his family. He'll make his wife an almana. The Mephoshim explain, because he'll constantly look to get more money. So he'll leave his wife an almana, could be constantly traveling to get more money. When we ask him his gozlov, he'll never be with his children, so his children will be like his same. But many will forget his learning because he'll be so busy looking for food. Or constantly have either because he'll forget his learning, so he'll be arguing with people all the time, or because he'll try and cheat and steal money and owe money, so he'll constantly be in machlekas. People won't listen to his Torah. If you see a Talmid Chacham fussing, people don't listen to him. It causes a huge chilul Hashem. When you see a Talmid Chacham behaving in a way which is not fitting for Talmid Chacham, it causes a huge chilul Hashem, because you see a steer, a contradiction between what he's doing, his learning, and the way he's behaving. It causes a chilul Hashem to him, his children, forever and ever. What do people say about him? People call about him, he's the one who stokes the oven because he's busy trying to get more and more food. He's the dancer at the pubs, because in those days, if you want to get food, what you would do is you would dance in the pubs, and then people would give you food. So that was what they used to do. So Talmid Chacham, who constantly looking for food, people compare him to the lowest of the low. He's like somebody who licks out the bowls. Somebody who's so desperate for food, you'll see it end up eating from people's leftovers ice cream because he's so chasing after food. He's somebody that sleeps on his clothes. A person who eats a very lot and drinks a very lot gets shikah, doesn't even get into his bed. He just folds up his coat and lies on the streets. So that is a huge zilzum. So the Gemara over here uses all kinds of terrible expressions regarding a Talmid Chacham who behaves gluttonously. A person should sell everything that he owns just to marry a daughter of Talmid Chacham. If he ends up not being at home, either by dying or going away, he'll know, since his daughter grew up in the house of Talmid Chacham, that his children will grow up to become Talmid Chacham because his wife will continue in the Messiah of her father. The stipend in Krani to Igrasa, unbelievable letter, he writes that a girl that's been from school has the same status because she's learned that the chashivus of Torah should also teach her children to be Torah. But she shouldn't marry a daughter of Amoritz. She may so good, but of Amoritzim. Then the chashivus shouldn't come Amoritzim. Tonu Rabbanon, no means Komadum Komash. Yesh Levi Yisabas Talmid Chacham. The Yasi bit to the Talmid Chacham. You should sell everything you have just to marry a daughter of the Talmid Chacham. Moshe the Invei Agefet B'Invei Agefet Davanom Iskabo. That it's something when you see a grapevine, it grows well with another grapevine, so people are happy and it makes people pleased. But it's a thorn bush with a grape, with the dover coal. It's an ugly thing. And it's not accepted. With Beis, and it's not accepted. I saw Vitamin Big's a marshal this week that there was a story that the Aryeh de Beirav, that he got married and divorced. His wife didn't like him. She found that he was learning too much and couldn't give her a lifestyle which was good enough. So what happened was, there was somebody wanted to marry him. I can't remember the tzaddik's name. Vidman talks about it. And what happened was, he never told his wife that he was this person had been divorced before. And she only found out, and they sold everything they had in order to support him. And suddenly she finds out, she even sold a tichel that she had, which had diamonds inside it, which she got from her father, was one of the big Hasidic Rebbes. And when she found out about it, she said, "You told me to sell my most precious item to get my daughter to marry, my only daughter, I only had one child, to marry my daughter as somebody who was divorced. So we're taking over somebody's rejects." So he said, "Divorce, nothing." He said like this. He said that he said a story. There was once a very, very simpleton. He found some diamonds. And he looked at him like barley. So he threw it into his cholent, and he was waiting for it to give a geschmack taste in the cholent. And he's waiting, beans, whatever, and he cooks and cooks and cooks, and they remain as hard, unedible. So he takes these diamonds and he goes to a person who's got slightly more sense, and he says to this person, "Look, these are not very good beans. You cook them and they don't work." The person chaps what they are. So what does he do? He says, "Yeah, you know what? I'll swap it for you. I'll give you a big bag of beans. You give me these beans." He says, "Do the diamonds diminish whatsoever because the person doesn't recognize the beauty?" Of course not. The person realizes just because somebody else is foolish enough not to realize the greatness, the person must realize that's a big mistake just to think that because somebody is a reject, it's not at all any lessening of the thing. And you see over here, the Gemara says you should sell everything you have just to be able to marry a daughter of Talmud Chacham or to marry a daughter of the Talmud Chacham. People who are tzaddikim. You don't find tzaddikim. You should find somebody who's ahead of the kehillah, like the those who collect stock. You should find people who teach children. You should marry children of shekets. I'm also compared to shkotzim, the shesin, sheretz, but they say the daughter of an amoritz is like marrying an animal. Rashi Tesis, we've done every Tesis, we did have kind of before, so meant to be on Amud Aleph. The next Tesis says, what's greater? Somebody who collects stock or teaches children, what would you say? From this Gemara, it's mashma, Kabbalah stock is greater, because it says Kabbalah stock is greater. So this asks the Kasha that Baba Bassa, it seems the other way around. So he says, this asks the Kasha, says he himself answers that the light of the Rukiah is greater than the light of the Kechovim. The others say that Machik Sugi is what is greater. The Chazadish writes in the Mor B'tochen a very harsh thing, that what's greater, Tzaddik or Talmud Chacham? He says, unfortunately, we live in a day that people think Tzaddikim are greater. You see, for this Gemara, it's not true. That if you can't find the Talmud Chacham, then you find the Tzaddik's daughter. He says, unfortunately, you see people that are running off to Admorim and Tzaddikim. Don't go off. Find somebody who's got no Hasidim and nothing, sits and learns all day. That's the person you should chase after, not the people who are Tzaddikim. You see, it's a big Zerah from this Gemara. He writes quite harshly. It's in Munah B'tochen Per Gimel, if you ever want to read it. Tell you what, Rebbe Yomi. He's not allowed to eat meat. Since the Torah puts the word Torah with the word behema, somebody who doesn't learn Torah doesn't deserve to eat meat, because after all, he's not worthy for it. Yes, I know. Yeah. The Ma'aseh was going to say very, very harsh things. As I said, when we talk about it's a kafir baker. When we talk about Ma'at and the Ritzvah, the Gemara over here is speaking very harshly to shockers. You're allowed to stab him when you're in Kippur, Shcholi is Shabbos. He's even not allowed to do Malacha in Kippur, which is a Shabbos, you're allowed to. So he said, Shecht, why stab him? When you shecht, you make a bracha. Now, Masha asks a kasha, when you shecht people, you don't make a bracha. So the answer is that shechita is a slightly more merciful way of doing things. And Namaoris, you shouldn't even do a merciful way, you should stab him. What? Yes, I know. That means even on the day we're not allowed to do malacha, and such a kodesh day, after became. Yeah, it's even more, it's even worse. To about Kippur, which is a Shabbos, which is more kodesh, you're not allowed. Okay. You're not allowed to walk with Amaorts on a journey. Torah is a person's life. If he doesn't learn Torah, obviously he doesn't care about his own life. Of course he doesn't care about his friend's life. You're allowed to tear him apart like a fish. Whenever you want to take a salmon, you see, what do they do in the fishmongers? They cut it, split it down the middle, open it up, take everything out. You could do the same to Talmud Chacham. You should do it from his back. That's what it says. Umigaboy, and Amorz, Umigaboy. Umigaboy from his back. Rashi says, why from the back? Because that way they die quicker. The more guaranteed to die if you do it from the back. No, we're talking about somebody who's a kafir be'ikr, not. No, forget. Somebody who's a kafir, then Hashem, of course not. Yeah, not a summer. Yes. Yes. It's very. It is. Okay. Tanya Rabbi Kiva Kshoisi Amoritz Naz Amoritz Amarti. I said B'yitzini Talmud Chacham Hu Kimi Talmud Chacham and Shchenu Chamoy and I'll bite him like a donkey. Omlu Talmidov Rebbe Amoke Kelem. Why like a donkey? Why not say bite him like a dog? Omar then Zen Noshech the Shova Etzim. When a donkey bites, it breaks the bones. There's a Noshech when the Shova Etzim. When a dog bites, it doesn't break bones. When a donkey bites, it breaks the bones. So Rabbi Kiva said when I was on Ma'oretz, I had such hatred that I wanted to even break the bones of Talmud Chacham. So I wanted to bite like a donkey, not like a dog. Tosis not here, but Tosis in the Bomas asks the Kasha that the Gemara tells us the famous story of Rachel with Rabbi Kiva. Why did she choose him as a husband? He was on Ma'oretz. Why did she choose him?
She saw the potential.
He saw his potential. The Gemara says she saw that he had good midas. Wonderful midas he has. Every Talmud Chacham that he sees, he wants to bite like a donkey. That's not very good midas. So Tais gets one answer there that there was different stages in his life. Originally, Taki was wicked, but then became great, and then she saw his potential. Tais says, no, another tells us that even when he had the potential, he was so jealous, we'll see in a minute, therefore, he still had that ability. Okay. Somebody who marries his daughter to Ma'oretz, it's as if he ties it up and puts it in front of a lion. Just like a lion devours and eats, he has no embarrassment. He hits and has relations, he has no boishes polim. It's not the kind of Gemara which I want to be ma'ach for a variety of reasons, but there's what Esther says about this Gemara like this, that a person has to know that he has to have sensitivity to his wife. Sensitivity to his wife means that it's not a matter about getting what you want, it's a matter about thinking about what's good for her. And he says that the Gemara over here says that a person who marries his daughter off to Ma'oretz is like throwing in a lion, where a lion doesn't think about his victim, the lion just thinking about eating. He says somebody who behaves like that to his wife should know that he's behaving like a Ma'oretz. Okay. It's quite a sharp of gesture. You hear the thing. In modern matter, if not for the fact that Amoratzim need to be the for business matters, or you're hoping they would actually kill us. That's what Amoratzim like. If you learn to in front of Amoratz, the most horrible thing you can do to a man is to take his engagement girl and be ma'anas her in front of him. Somebody who learns Torah in front of Amoritz is taking something which he deserves to have, that Amoritz, and you're taking it away from him by learning it in front of him, because at the end of the day, he could also learn it. Learning in front of him makes him upset. It is engaged. That means really, every Amoritz is got a chilik in Torah. When you learn in front of them, so therefore what happens is, it's a lack of sensitivity. Oh, very good. Amoratzim hate to be the Chachamim more than the Goyim. More than 8. When the Shesem Yisrael and the wives even more. A couple of things over here. The Gemara says that the hatred between. Oh, Mama, she said this. When I was in Beis Yaakov, they had a rally. Shalom Taluni came to speak. Shalom Taluni, you've never heard of her. You're too young. When I was young, Shalom Taluni was like the Lapid of today. You can't imagine the hatred she had. She had grandchildren who were Hasidim. She had grandchildren Hasidim that became Fum, and she said, I'd rather they became Arabs than they become Hasidim. Can you imagine becoming Hasidim? You can't imagine.
That shows that that's incredible. How the kids see the hatred.
It's unbelievable. You could see it. I went to see her speak. Unbelievable the hatred they had. And again, the Destas is a very, very nice thing. Let's just do one more line. Somebody who learned Torah and stopped, Yosmi Kulon hates the Chachamim the most. So Rashi says like this: somebody who learns Torah and stops learning Torah, he hates the most. Why? Because he realizes how much the Chachamim look down on Maratzim. So therefore, he hates the Chachamim the most because he was part of the group. So he saw the negativity. So therefore, he hates the most. So Desta says a different one. Desta says like this: all hatred brings a gon. All hatred comes from jealousy. The source of all hatred, when you hate somebody, kimat always, it's because you're jealous of them. The Goyim hate the Yidden. Why? We have Torah, they don't. Even if they're not aware of it, they're aware that we have something subconsciously, they're aware of something we don't. So now Ma'oretz is even more jealous. Why? Because the more you could have had something, the more jealous. Nobody here, but Pashtus, is jealous of Bill Gates. Why? because he's not in our lives. If somebody over here would win, obviously Bonim or Sonny would get something, the raffle of Beis Yisrael, Beis Yisrael make a raffle, then that would make more jealousy because you've got more connection. It says of Desta. And now Ma'oretz has got more connection to Torah than the Goy. So therefore, he has more jealousy, so he has more hatred. The wives even more. It says of Desta, why the wives even more? Because the wife, all she needed to do was to choose to marry somebody else. She didn't even need to. So her potential for Torah was even greater. She didn't even need to go through the effort of learning. So her closeness to Torah should have shed. And Shonu Pura, she says, somebody who learned Torah and stopped, he was already there. So he left it. So his jealousy is like, for example, the two of us do an investment, right? We each put in £100,000. I've got 100,000 in my pockets. Every day I'm doing these kinds of investments. And what happens is I decide to take my investment out, and then you decide to keep it going. And then your investment yields millions. I would be the most jealous of all because I was already there. So somebody who was actually learning and stopped, he gets the most jealous of them all. It's very interesting test. Anyway, very nice. Okay. Says the Gemara. 6 things we said about in Mason and Eidos, you're not allowed to give over Eidos, meaning you don't ask them to be an aid by a loan, etc. They become an Eidos. So the Shalom say, if you don't give them Eidos, how can you become Eidos? The answer is like this. Now, if they have, very good. It also says you tell us if they saw. So I said the first part differently in order to get that answer in. But you're right. The Torah says the first point is you don't ask them, invite them to be aid by a loan, by a chuppah, etc. Then we come to Eidos, if they're happy to see, let's say 2 Eidim, happy to see it, you don't accept them Eidos. Then we get and say you don't tell them secrets because what happens is they reveal it. When man knows that Pachopas are you saying we don't appoint them to be. What's that Pachopas? A good English word. Trustee. There's even better administrator. I think administrator is a better word. What do you say? I think administrator. Well, you can choose your word.
Just on the Eidos.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, in Rosh Hashanah,
yes.
We used to have.
Yes. Yes, so that's what we say Amaratzim, different Amaratzim. Right, it's a very good point. The Gemara says that people couldn't understand the shapes. When Manas Pachopas said that, when Manas Pachopas go for stock, don't become administrator on the stock thing. When Mislav in the mind Baderech, you don't go with them on a journey. You don't announce the Hashavah Saveda. The Tanakama. Sometimes they have good children. The children have it. Oh, so a couple of things. By the way, I should have said that Avdesla about Durs V'Oicha Tis V'Ramis to it. The Maui Durs V'Oicha. If you look at that Tis, it takes 1 second. There's a Durs V'Oicha, the mountain that should Thomas Apamoritz in the mountain that should despise. The next Tis, it asks a very good question. How can you say Dogi Vashav Saved Tamoritz? How would I find a lost item? Imagine I find this on the street. How am I supposed to know? Did it belong to Tamoritz or anything? So Tais says we're talking about where a group of Amaratzim left an area, and then you find something there, so you know it came from Amaratzim. That's what Tais says. Yeah, but I know, but that's a different thing. So, but when you find the lost item, how do they belong to an Amoritz? Okay. What?
Even if there's no simon, you give it back to the
I know, but again, the question of this still stands. How are you going to find a lost item and say, I'm not going to Hashem Savedi because of the Amoritz? If you know who he is, give it back to him. If you
I can't know, you machriz, and then the Amoritz comes and say, no.
He says, you don't even machriz. So he's asked the kasha, what's the chiddush you give back Hashem Savedi? That means you're not allowed to steal. If you're not allowed to steal, you're allowed to kill them, we said earlier, but you're not allowed to steal for them because you're not Hashem Savedi. So this is obviously many different levels of Amaratzim. That's the whole link. This one takes over here. Okay. Now this is different levels because here it says you don't have to do Hashavah Saveda. Mashma, you don't have to do Hashavah Saveda. You're not allowed to take things from them. Right? Because if you're allowed to steal from them, of course you don't have to do Hashavah Saveda. So somebody you're not allowed to steal from, but you don't have to do Hashavah Saveda. It says you're not allowed to steal from him, but yet a minute ago you said you're allowed to kill him. So this says obviously different levels of Amaratzim. And one says, Tanakama says, no, you should do Hashavah Saveda, maybe we'll have a good shot. Oh, let's get back to our Mishnah. The Mishnah says that if somebody left Yerushalayim with meat, he has to come back. And so too, if he's got chometz, he has to do bittul chometz, etc. The Gemara brings a machloek, Mishnah brings a machloek is kazayis or kabetza. If you remember in Brochas, about the shaila regarding benching, when do you bench by kazayis or kabetza? The Gemara finds that the machloek is here is exactly the opposite of the Gemara in Brochas, which is a contradiction. Here now, Mishnah Ramir says how much a kabetza, mashma the kabetza is choshev, the case is not. And the Yehuda says kazayis, and there it's the other way around. Says the Gemara, v'chein b'shiyotzav v'chulu. Remember the Amir, some kabetza the choshev, and some kazayis ami choshev. That according to Amir, only kabetza according to Abudim the kazayis. So meaning that contradict you. At Kama in Mezamnim, when did you do simon at kazayis? Abudim at kabetza. So you see, it's the other way around when it comes to eating. We have to turn around our Mishnah to fit it in with the Mishnah in Brachos. There we're arguing in Psukim, and there we're arguing in Sva. The Torah says, "V'chalto zu achila, v'sovato zu shtia." V'chalto eat, v'sovato is drink. V'achila b'kazais, eating is a kazais. By the way, I have to mention that's a sulis in one of the poskim. It's a very chomodik halacha. If you eat a sandwich and you bench and you're thirsty, and after you finish benching, you have a drink, you've done a terrible avera. Why? Because according to the shit, according to a man, it's the Gochim. V'chalto is eating, v'sovato is drinking. You should have drinking before, and the evening's got the supik whether you should now do. So you should make sure that if you shouldn't be thirsty when you're benching, because according to the shit, v'chalto is to eat, v'sovato is drinking. But Yehuda Sova v'chalto v'sovato eat and be satisfied is all referring to the food. Achilo sheish bo svir. It's eating which is a satisfactory. Reizoi zubika beitza. So again, everybody agrees that achila is a kazais, svir is a kabeitza. Kabeitza is a double kazais. The question is how to read the pasuk. V'chalto eat, v'sovato drink, and then you only eat a kazais. Or v'chalto v'sovato eat a kabeitza. No one says the kabeitza. Hocha b'svor pligi damer sova chazarosu ketumosoi. Ma tumosu b'kabeitza. Just like tumah is never by less than the kabeitza of chazarosu b'kabeitza. Top of Nunam Dalef, my Sur because it's just like this is because af b'chalzorose because it depends on what Tumo Issa. Tumo is kabeitza, Issa because it's Tanu Nos Lim is shtei beitzim. You have two kabeitzim. V'lo yehudu lechachamim. They didn't agree with him. I told you because we did every taste of the daf except for the last taste. Let's do the last taste as well. So this asks the kasha that again. The Gemara over here says got two machlekes. Over here legabe Pesach and Tumah, and then legabe benching. And the Gemara says it's contradiction. Two answers. One muchlefes ashita swap it around. The other one is that there's machlekes psukim here. So it's a machlekes psukim. So it's machlekes deraises or derabbanons. What would you say? Deraises. Otherwise, why it's machlekes psukim? Now, if you remember, the Gemara Vocha says not like that. The Gemara Vocha says clearly that Klal Yisrael said or special. What's special about Klal Yisrael? That minat Torah you only need to bench when you're satisfied, and they're machmi on themselves because zayis and kabeitza. And over here we say like this that it's not. Answers the Gemara that answers Tosfos that it is only a asmachta. It's not a posuk. When we say psukim, we don't mean literally the arguing pshat and pasuk. It's an asmachta how to be asmachta the pasuk. Then there's the kasha that if that's the case, that it comes out that so there's another vision that says that no, that you are muchib to bench zayis b'kabeitza. The more takes the story which we had very briefly that Shimon ben Shotach was once invited to a meal, and the Yana Melech asked him to bench. So he said, I haven't eaten anything, and he benched without eating kashir, even kazayis kabeitza. So he's asked Kasha, why was Shimon ben Shotach allowed to be moitzi them, and the children not allowed to? So that last line, let's do the last line of Tosfos inside, because it's a fascinating line. I don't know how many mitzvot have been said about this last line of Tosfos. Once spoken Yachikala. And somebody told me that you can't imagine the drasha was the most exciting drasha in the world. He spoke 4 or 5 drashas all around this line of Tosfos. So somebody copied it for me. So I listened to all of it when I was anyway like either walking or driving over like a few days. And it's like fascinating, amazing how much you can build from one line of Tosfos. You heard such a Tosfos? A child who's not by mitzvah can't be moitzi a godin. But somebody who doesn't eat a shir deraisa is allowed to be moitzi. What's the svar? What's the chiluk? But I'm not eaten. So that's what you say. That's the lomdus. That when a person is a god and hasn't eaten, so he's at least potentially, you could say hoyol like we had earlier. Hoyol he could eat if he had. But the cotton, it's as if it's a different burial. It's as if it's different. It's as if it's like not. So therefore, not by chiyuvas. Therefore, Shimon Shotach could. But Maisa, it comes out this only derabbanons though. This is kazayis and kabeitza. And min hatayah, when do you have to bench? No, we're machmir, but when min hatayah do you have to bench? When you're satisfied. We do derabbanon kazayis kabeitza. That's right. It could be a lot more min hatayah. We're up to Nunam Adalef, 3rd line down, and again we're going to have quite long dafim. So it's okay. Shkoyach Avei, v'toch in a good v'ch Yehuda. So I didn't have more time to answer your question, Yehuda. We're rushing today. There's a lot to do.
No, you answered it.
Oh yeah, finish the bag tomorrow, Master. What do you say?
It says in the book more about